Hello everybody and welcome to another stream of me reacting to a video that Cyberpunk 2077's official YouTube channel have posted. So that was a little banger of a song for you guys right before I open the stream and right before I start actually doing what I actually said I was gonna do. And now we have like about 2 minutes to burn, so we can do a little Q&A here. Just ask me simple questions and I'll answer them. Hey, if you want to support the channel, it's Penguin Zero. Go ahead over there. I mean, he doesn't really need that much support. Look at that amount of subscribers, 3.8 million. But yeah, if you want to support the song, then I guess hit him up here in his channel here. He only loves Amelia. Fun fact, that's not actually his body pillow. Alright, so okay, we have literally 2 minutes left until the stream crashes, and then once it does, reload the stream, and then we are good to go. School already. Oh, it's summer holidays has ended for you all, hasn't it? I'm not American, so. Okay, 1.5 minutes left until the stream actually starts. One minute left. So the Cyberpunk video will actually be like 1 hour and 13 minutes long, as far as I've checked. Where is it? Where's the channel? Yep. Here's the channel. And the video, yep, is 1 hour and 13 minutes long. It's pretty damn long. Oh, okay, the stream is about to crash at any moment now. In probably about 20 seconds or 15 seconds. Alright, probably in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Has it crashed yet? Hasn't crashed yet? That's weird. Now? It hasn't crashed yet. Ah, it finally has crashed. Reload the stream, fellas. And now I'll invite people from my Twitter and my Discord. Jesus. I'm sorry about this once again. It usually crashes for mobile users, so that's that. There we go. Well, that doesn't seem like... Never mind. Someone pinged me. Fat emo kid. Okay, so this is where we start the stream. The video's here. Let's just... Jesus. Oh yeah, volume warning. At times... God damn, I always seem to get startled with the volume. Are you guys ready? Hello? Alright, let's go. Also volume warning once again. Damn my ears. Is it in
Welcome, my name is Holly and I'm the UK Head of Communication here at CD Projekt Red, and I will be your host for today as we take a deep dive into Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to be showing you a video with new gameplay and new gameplay mechanics, and afterwards I'll be joined by three of our developers, Miles, Philip and Pavel, as we take a closer look at some of the things you're going to see and hopefully answer some of your questions. On behalf of everybody at CD Projekt Red, we're incredibly excited to share this new look at Cyberpunk 2077 with you.
Hey V, you alright?
Let's do this.
Keep out with this shit.
We've already seen this stuff in the previous stream.
Okay. What now?
Oh yeah, in case you guys didn't catch the previous stream, I made an explanation on why she's in this bathtub full of ice, or probably why she's actually doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge despite it being completely outdated. Well, the reason is that she's going to be hacking or entering the world of the net, the cyberspace. Yeah, cyberspace. The thing is that when you do that, your entire body acts as like I guess a PC of its own, like its own GPU. So, you know, if you use your PC too much, it heats up. So if you try going to cyberspace, your entire body will heat up and might even actually burn, and you might die in the process. So that's the reason why they keep you in a bathtub full of ice, to keep you cool. More information with Ronald.
Barry. Johnny.
You Barry? On that cloche.
Oh yeah, Johnny's in the game as well. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I have Discord notifications on when someone pings me, Fatty, okay?
Where are we?
Our BBS, Data Fortress. Bridge to the deep net.
We can find more hentai
Beyond the
and hand-holding pictures.
Beyond the black wall.
I'll turn it up later.
Welcome to the Cyberpunk 2077 2019 Deep Dive video. In last year's gameplay reveal, we showed you our vision for the world of Cyberpunk 2077,
And
its
it was
quests,
beautiful.
and visual design. This
Hello,
year,
Pancake.
we'd like to give you a peek at some of the playstyles you'll be able to adopt as your character progresses through the story.
Here goes nothing.
You're about to see sequences embodying two distinct approaches to playing Cyberpunk. We'll show you a strong solo build, that is,
Give me a second.
we'll show
I'm looking at their stats. Okay, damn. The solo has 9 in body, while the Netrunner has 9 in intelligence. It's pretty balanced, the both of them.
show you a strong solo build, that is, a character who focuses on employing blunt force and taking instant action, and a Netrunner build, a playstyle taking frequent advantage of stealth tactics, hacking, and battlefield control achieved using malicious software. Additionally, you'll learn more about Pacifica, one of the game's districts, 2 gangs.
And like I said in the previous stream, give me a second.
Additionally, you'll learn more about
Pacifica. It used to be the promised land, the new luxurious city for the future of Night City. I mean, not Night City, for the future of the Cyberpunk universe. But the people who were funding Pacifica pulled out, so at the end all construction was like abandoned. So at the end, the only people who lived in Pacifica were poor people and gangs. So Pacifica, which was supposed to be this luxurious area, became into this wasteland where only gangs and poor people look around, unfortunately.
Pacifica, one of the game's
Of
districts.
course this game is
2
true. Why do you think
gangs,
I'm
the
obsessed with
Animals
it?
and the Voodoo Boys. And you'll see glimpses of Johnny Silverhand,
AKA Keanu Reeves.
the digital construct who haunts our main character, V.
Jesus.
Silverhand, the digital construct who haunts our main character, V.
And this is us, and this is Keanu. Also, fun fact, I heard news recently that there won't be that much third-person view in the game, because since the developers really want to hit the immersion, they made the game like, I guess, 95% first-person mode. So even in cutscenes, you'll be in first-person mode and not in third-person, which I think is quite a bummer.
A word of caution, given that the
They pulled out their funding, not in that way. Okay, Luigi.
video covers a section of the game deep into the main storyline, we have edited the footage to contain as few spoilers as possible. Be aware that the gameplay as presented does reveal characters and locations you'll see while playing the game's main story arc, so watch at your own discretion.
The original video was like 1 hour.
Where we headed?
This one is like 15 minutes or 14 minutes.
This way.
In this video, you'll experience a segment of a quest from the middle of the game. We're currently in Pacifica, one of Night City's 6 unique districts.
You know Pacifica well? Nah. You guys aren't exactly great at rolling out the welcome mat for outsiders.
It was designed to be a tourist hotspot within the city. As you can see, this didn't pan out. When uncertainty struck the global economy, investors pulled their funding, leaving most establishments unfinished. It's one of those places where expectations and reality collided, resulting in a heap of disappointment.
Just like real life, just like my life. Also, hey, if you want to play this game, you either need a PS4, Xbox, or you need a really, really beefy PC. Also, you need to watch out for either your Xbox or your PS4 overheating, and also your PC. If you want to buy a PC, make sure it's a really, really beefy one, because I'm sure the specs are going to be really high for this game.
Ongoing gang wars plague this part of the city. Outsiders don't come here if they don't have to. Even by Night City's standards, it's dangerous to those unfamiliar with it. Taking a casual stroll here would not be a good idea. A fast motorbike or armor-plated car would be the safer option. But places like this have their advantages. If you're in need of rare goods or illegal cyberware, Pacifica's bustling local markets are a good place to start your search. The Grand Imperial Mall is a whole other story. It was one of the last developments.
Since this game is kind of like futuristic and kind of like dark and grim, I don't think that they will have a Minecraft Easter egg, unfortunately. It's too, adult and shit. I don't think they want to have fun with the Easter eggs. They might have a Witcher Easter egg though. Not Minecraft, sadly. Actually, maybe they will. Maybe. You never know. Minecraft is pretty scary as well. I don't know.
In Pacifica to lose its funding. Until recently it stood vacant, but now a gang called the Animals has moved in for reasons unknown.
Something's not going right.
Also, like I said in the previous stream, the reason why these people call themselves the Animals is because they're a gang who obsessed with body modification to make them as strong and buff as possible. So they're literally called animals because they think that they're beasts and they're strong and shit. I mean, they are very, very, very strong physically and all.
Big guy up top.
And that's what we need to learn in order to earn the trust of the Voodoo Boys, the animals' rivals.
What the hell?
Could fucking tell me what you plan to do first.
You take job. You do what I say. So you jack in now.
Of the many gangs in Cyberpunk 2077, the Voodoo Boys are the most skilled at using the net.
You have now seen the Rezo Agwe, our subnet.
Wwhy?
Keanu's in the
for?
background.
You are my vessel now. Through Agwe, I see what you see, hear what you hear.
This mysterious gang of highly skilled netrunners has close ties to the local Haitian community.
You are V. We have been waiting.
Haitians settled in Pacifica in the 2060s after natural disasters struck their island and forced them to emigrate en masse. The Voodoo Boys gang formed around this same time, though at a smaller scale. Now the gang effectively rules Pacifica. The Voodoo Boys don't usually work with outsiders. Lucky for us, it seems they're prepared to make an exception this time.
Mr. Hand sent me. He said you got merc work needs doing.
Still, to earn their trust, we need to prove our worth. Placide, one of the Voodoo Boys' higher-ups, has offered us a mission. We need to infiltrate the Grand Imperial Mall, currently occupied by the Voodoo Boys' deadly enemy, a gang called the Animals.
2035 07.
Keanu.
3 seconds before.
Give me a second. Keanu.
Camionette. We try to learn where the camionette come from.
The Animals are not your normal gang. Their presence in Pacifica is suspicious. They value might above all else and wear melee combat implants to raise their prowess in combat.
Oh yeah, fun fact. We will be able to participate or at least have a boxing minigame. We might be able to participate in boxing tournaments is what I wanted to say. Or just have a minigame. Either way, I'm really happy for that. Since I like boxing a little bit. Thanks to anime, of course.
They value might above all else and wear melee combat implants to raise their prowess in combat. Their beverage of choice is juice, a potent strength and speed-enhancing concoction. As sought-after bouncers, they're usually dispersed throughout town. As skilled street-level business types, they've cornered the market in illegal substances and underground live-or-die prize fights. When they converge in one spot, it's for something big. It's then they appoint the fastest and strongest among them as their ad hoc leader. In this case, it's a woman named Sasquatch.
Said you wanted my vet.
Inside.
No. As far as I remember, you said no bone brain buffaloes on steroids. Afraid that's the cost of doing biz.
This is the tech Placide was talking about. It seems non-standard for the Animals. And this is where we come in.
Good.
Getting to the van won't be easy, but we're more than qualified for the job, which we can complete in one of many ways.
Also, it's kind of weird that we have books in
The character
2077.
creation in Cyberpunk 2077 is the kind you'd expect from a full-fledged character creation.
Give me a second. Let me read this. They say if you want to understand the streets, you gotta live them. Gangs, fixers, dolls, small-time pushers. You were raised by them all. Down here, the law of the jungle dictates the weak. The law of the jungle dictates the weak serve the strong. The only law in Night City you have yet to break. Look really. Why isn't there that much purple or pink? My favorite colors: purple, pink, and blue. My favorite neon colors. There isn't much of it.
In Cyberpunk 2077 is the kind you'd expect from a full-fledged RPG. In Cyberpunk 2077 is the kind you'd expect.
Roaming the Badlands, looting scrapyards, raiding fuel depots, life on the road wasn't easy, but growing up in a nomad clan has its perks. Honesty, integrity, and the love of freedom. Qualities that few in Night City possess. And no amount of money can buy. Well, the nomads are pretty similar to Mad Max. So, it's gonna be a good day.
From a full-fledged RPG.
There's a shitty Mad Max reference. You know? Oh, it's a good day. Yeah, it's a good day.
You start by choosing your...
Few leave the corporate world with their life. Few are still with their souls intact. You've been there.
2077 is the kind you'd expect from a full-fledged RPG. You start
You've been there, you've bent the rules, exploited secrets, and weaponized information. There's no such thing as fair game, only winners and losers.
by choosing your past, important because this unlocks special options at important story junctures.
Like this one.
You also fully customize your character using a deep customization system.
Also, about the deep...
You
Also, the deep customization system, you will not be able to choose male or female. There's no like presets for your character. So basically, you're not fully male. What I'm trying to say is you can be a trans in the game. You can be, let's say, 30% male and 70% female. Get what I mean? You do not choose your gender. Instead, you choose your body type. But you can make your entire body 100% male. Get what I mean? And that means you're male. You're a guy. Your gender is a male. Get what I mean? The creativity increases.
Fully customize your character using a deep customization system that spans not only your look and style, but also your abilities. Cyberpunk 2077 does not feature fixed class.
Oh, I didn't see this in the previous stream. So these are the classes. All of them, they're not fixed, by the way. So they're what do you call it? They're flexible, I guess. Whatever. So we have skills for handguns, rifles, blades, hacking, intelligence. I mean, there's different shotguns, two-handed, athletics, melee, engineering, sniper rifles, nerve, and assassination. We're pretty good at assassinations already.
Classes. Instead, it has a fluid.
Can you be thick? Yeah, you can be thick. Absolutely, you can. I want to just be a robot, to be honest. Well, you can be a extremely modified cyborg to the point where you're almost not human at all. But the problem about modifying your body too much in Cyberpunk is that you'll end up having this problem called cyberpsychosis, where you kind of go psycho, but in the same way, it's kind of like you are no longer human. Your mind thinks like a robot, so you think like, what's the wrong in actually killing humans? You know, you don't actually feel emotions anymore. So when that happens, you're gonna be dead. The corporal cops are gonna kill you. But Cyberpunk 2077's devs have told us that our main character will not be able to go through cyberpsychosis, so you can modify the fuck out of your character, and you can be a robot. Also, yes, you can be Buffsuki, but yeah, like Jesse just said, Buffsuki is an abomination. Moving on.
Class system that allows players to mix and match a wide range of abilities to suit their playstyles. You can create a strong solo character, a skilled Netrunner, or any other hybrid class you can imagine. Let's see how a solo playstyle in Cyberpunk 2077 might work. Solos prefer a direct approach. They use guns and might to get things done. So let's wreak some havoc. With our enhanced strength, we can strip this turret of its weapons and give the animals a taste of their own medicine. This is how a player investing in solo abilities might live out their Terminator power fantasy. Enhanced strength lets us force open doors or grab enemies to use as human shields. We also gain access to powerful melee combat cyberware. So even someone as fast and strong as Sasquatch, the leader of this group of animals, is not impossible to beat for a solo.
Jesus.
But Sasquatch has a different game plan. She's out to jack in and hack us. Let's see how this plays out.
Goddamn, she's ugly.
Ready for some fun? Proceed. What's going on?
Also, if you're not really good at shooting games like me, if your aim sucks like a goddamn... If your aim sucks, there is a fix for you. You can choose to put a mod in your gun where it, I guess, auto aims, or it actually helps with your aim. So if you suck at you suck at shooting video games, you don't really have to worry about playing Cyberpunk. The fuck is a Wonder Wolf?
It's our choice if we want to finish her off or spare her. Your
This is the
Cyberpunk,
best part.
your rules. If you'd rather sneak around, hide, and strike from the shadows, no problem. Just develop your net running skills to get around obstacles or hack into enemy tech to have it do the dirty work for you. Net running abilities mean hacking skills that let us use our cyber deck to breach access points. For this, we fill the buffer of our cyber deck with a string of instructions represented by these letters and numbers. Matching the instructions for basic access grants us control of devices connected.
Yeah, Sasquatch is quite ugly because, like I said, they prefer body modification. They prefer to be more buff. They don't really prefer beauty, you know. Sasquatch prefers herself to be the toughest of them all. She doesn't really want to be a pretty woman. You know what I mean? And also, yes, Fat Emo Kid, I think we might be able to get a chainsaw hand. So far, we have mantis blades. They're basically blades on your arms, kind of like Wolverine, but not like Wolverine at the same time. You know what I mean?
To this network. The more instructions we match, the more control we gain over elements in the network. We can hack our way through in numerous ways. A quick hack may grant us control of the security camera. Another one should let us tweak the difficulty of the training bot to create a distraction. With our nanowire, we can even hack this guy's implants from a distance.
Kind of like Spider-Man.
In this world, almost everything is connected to a local network. And that means it can be hacked.
And that means your hentai collection will never be safe.
Ours is a wolf.
Which brings us back to cyberspace. You don't get to do anything in the net unnoticed. There's always someone watching. It could be corpos, or even worse, it could be Netwatch. And that is exactly the case here.
It's a from map of Pacifica. They hunt Agwe.
Who is they?
Netwatch. They always out to fuck us.
Netwatch and the Voodoo Boys are like fire and ice. The first of these wants to maintain the old order and protect people from AI anarchy originating from beyond the Black Wall. The Voodoo Boys want to establish contact with the free AIs. They believe this will enable their boundless expansion on the net and grant them the upper hand over Netwatch. Netwatch sees this as the end of the world. Both are right.
Whoa, hey.
I think
How you deal with the Netwatch agent?
I think I actually prefer to side with the Netwatch. I don't really want the AI anarchy, you know what I mean?
Is entirely up to you. Do we side with the gang? Choosing to be on Netwatch's bad side is never wise. But can we really trust the Voodoo Boys?
You set me up!
As you can see, we have many possible options. But in each case, we take a risk.
Think I'll just stick to my plan.
Out well.
Also, that's probably a big problem if you enhance you modify your body too much. It's easy to hack.
In the world of Cyberpunk, few things go as planned.
Hey, Johnny Silverhand.
And that was just a glimpse of how complex the branching storyline in Cyberpunk 2077 can get. Every decision you make will have consequences. Your choices will shape how the world reacts to you and affect your relationships with those around you. One of those relationships is special. Ever heard of Johnny Silverhand?
Yep.
A rebel rocker boy who will be your companion throughout your adventure in Night City?
Come on, really think they give a rat's dick how you look?
Like everyone in Cyberpunk 2077, he has his own agenda. You'll decide if he'll be your ally or your enemy. And that chip in your head, the one thanks to which Johnny lives inside your mind. Well, that's a story for another time.
God damn, I'm really excited for this game.
Welcome back. Now, following the deep dive, there is an awful lot to talk about. So I found 3 of the very best. Oh, you look so happy. But I think just in case people aren't super familiar with Cyberpunk 2077, why don't you introduce yourself one by one so everybody knows who they're listening to?
Hey, I'm Miles. I'm one of the level designers.
One of the things is that, like what you're saying, Jesse, yeah, it's not nice to have a AI anarchy, but the thing is we do not know if the AI will actually want to do that. Who knows if the AI is friendly? But at the same time, it's AI. You never know if they are faking it or not. How long have they been working on this? They've been working on this since 2013. I can show you. Also, hey, nice beautiful face, Miles. I can show you their first trailer was like... Give me a second. Their first trailer was like 6 years ago. They've been working on this game for a very, very, very long time. And the first trailer was on 2018. So yeah, it's been really long. So 7 years actually. 7 years, right? Yeah, 7 years. Once it releases, then yeah, 7 years. But for now, 6 years.
At CD Projekt Red.
Hello, I'm Pavel, and I'm a lead of the Quest team, and it's a great pleasure to be talking to you.
So I'm Philip, and I'm one of their Quest designers, so I work really closely with Pavel over here.
Oh, thank you guys for being
Polish,
my participants in this video. Let's get started, because the last demo we saw took place in Watson. This time we're in Pacifica. They're very different, and that's super important for Night City, that it feels different. So what do you need to consider as a level designer when you're building a place like this?
Right, we are diving right into it.
Yeah, let's go. People want to know answers.
Okay, I'm going. So, from a level design point of view, for us it's really important to create these districts, the 6 ones that we have in Night City, to be as different as possible without making it unbelievable, right? And we sort of orient ourselves around sort of how we approached, let's say, Skellige and Novigrad No Man's Land in The Witcher 3. So we're sort of aiming for a very noticeable difference. And this has multiple purposes, right? First off, we want to enhance the variety in the game, right? It would be kind of boring just to have a lot of the same throughout the entire city. We have one cityscape, so we need to create this kind of variety, and that's actually a really fun creative process as well. And secondly, we need it as a navigational tool. That means that when you as a player move around the city, you should know where you are simply by looking around. And thankfully there's a lot of lore that we can sort of dissect and make our own that helps us around, but we also add our own sort of twists to the whole thing, right? So in terms of Pacifica, we know that it's pretty fucked up place, if I can say so, and it
doesn't look that fucked up to me. I mean, there are plenty of people living here, but maybe they're just the Haitians. In case you guys don't know, the Haitians live here, not poor people. I'm sorry for saying that. Did I just mute this? I accidentally muted it. The Haitians, they had to migrate here. Oh wait, they said in the deep dive video as well. Yeah, the Haitian community lives in Pacifica. I don't think it's that dangerous though. Maybe I haven't seen enough. Probably I haven't seen enough.
And what I mean with that is that it's pretty noticeable that it's almost post-apocalyptic, right? The district has a rich history that caused it to basically fall into disarray after it was initially meant to become the city's crown jewel of tourism. But clearly, as you can see from the footage, that actually didn't quite work out that way. And now you'll actually see things like burning cars on the streets, right? And it's very deserted. So much unlike Watson that we showed last year, where the streets are bustling with people, here there's way less. Because it's simply a very dangerous place that you don't want to really go if you don't have to. And again, that's one of these things that once you enter the district from the rest of Night City, you'll actually notice that, right? And of course, all the destruction going on and all of the, suffering and pain.
Our favourite
and
things.
Violence, as it were.
So what kind of things are exclusive to
thanks
Pacifica?
for the
because you don't want people to just come for the quest and then leave
Really
and that's
appreciate
it. You want people to keep coming back to its district. So what can people find there?
This
shit. What is the question?
As it were.
So what kind of things are exclusive to Pacifica? Because you don't want people to just come for the quest and then leave and that's it. You want people to keep coming back to its district. So what can people find there?
Well, if you want to die, then you feel free to go back to Pacifica.
This is what I meant when I said it's a very fun process to think of these kind of things, because the sort of characteristics that we give the district directly sort of birth the things that you can find there, right? And amongst the destruction, you'll still find people living there, right? Pacifica is inhabited by a large Haitian community, and each district sort of has kind of dominant gang who has taken over there. In the case of Pacifica, that would be the Voodoo Boys. And unlike the Maelstromers that we saw last year, the Voodoo Boys are actually deeply ingrained within the community that lives there. And they actually, they're not your typical sort of street gang in the sense that they don't really bring a lot of gunpowder to fight themselves, but they actually specialize in cyberspace. They're obsessed with the mysteries of cyberspace. They've sort of almost made it their own religion, if you will. And they have the reputation of being the best netrunners that you can find in Night City.
Hey, thanks for being a member, Linkholder.
It's a very cool
really
gang
appreciate
that
it.
V, of course,
Thanks.
our main protagonist, will interact with in several ways. How? You will have to find out.
You're not my third member, my third channel member.
I mean, that's just one of many, many different ways you'll really experience Pacifica. As I said, all of these things together, the culture, the visuals, the architecture, and the history really will be very distinct to the district. At the same time, we're of course trying really hard to not make it feel disconnected, right? There's always a link. It should always be believable. That's one of the sort of core pillars that we build everything on. But this will make it for a very unique experience when you delve an adventure in this district compared to others.
And when looking at the stories that we'll be telling in this exact district, we always make sure that it always fits to the environment, to what we want to build. So, you know, the street stories that you will find, their side quests, and the main quest that is actually placed there, it always tells the story of the community, of the people, of the characters that are living there. And the Haitian community, right, they arrived actually in Night City because of the environmental changes that were happening in the world. Haiti is actually completely flooded, and they have left it. They arrived to Night City to build the district that Miles just talked about, and they were left out at the moment when the corporations withdrawn all the funding from the Pacifica. They were left there and they built their own community there, and they gave the seed. They become the seed for all the stories that we're telling there. So as a player, when you're like investing, meeting all those characters and talking to them, you actually find out and learn more about them, you know, through the quests.
Perfect, but let's talk about the mall we just saw in the deep dive video, because that's not linear.
No.
So how do you design a non-linear level? You've got the building, you're thinking, right, well, the person who's playing on their game, they might have a more techie style of playthrough, but this person might want to go in all guns blazing.
Yeah,
how
like
do you
me.
design levels for all these different play styles? Anything's possible.
Yes, yeah, we do give the player a lot of different tools to use as he goes through a level, and that makes designing these things quite complex, I will say. But, you know, just to sort of understand our mentality, I can actually, I'll attempt, and maybe you'll help me out with this one, to go back in our development well, some time. And to really sort of, we came up with this example to sort of establish this kind of mentality that we wanted to have when we approached our level designs and the way we do our encounters, right? And the example was rather simple. The goal was for a player to go from one room to another. But the main way to go from that one room to another would be sort of like a door, and be it through like a scanner or a device. It doesn't really matter for the example actually. Going through this door would ultimately result in the player losing his weapons, but the task was to actually kill a person on the other side of that door, right? Now, we use this sort of example to sit down and think, okay, how will we do this in all these kind of different play styles, right? So perhaps one way would be to convince a guard that would be stationed next to the door, just let you through, right? Through like sort of like a social kind of path, or you could take the guy out, take, I don't know, like a pass that would enable you to go through the door without actually letting go of your gun. Maybe if you are invested as a melee character, it actually doesn't really matter to you. You just walk through the door and then punch the guy on the other side into like a pile of blood. Or maybe as a kind of hacker type of character, you try to find a way to breach the network, to disable the device, right, the scanner that would prevent your weapons from usage, allowing you to move through and then use your guns on whatever your target is. Maybe as a kind of fast solo kind of character, you'd be able to jump out of the window onto a windowsill, double jump to the, like a balcony, and then enter through the window there. And the list goes on and on with.
I don't think they'll have a Silverhand DLC. The DLCs that CD Projekt Red make are actually like important to the game. They usually make expansions. That's the kind of DLC they do. They don't really like to have stuff that you're supposed to get in the game, like skins. They don't really like putting skins in DLC. You're buying the game, you're gonna get the game 100%. The only thing that you won't be getting is the expansions, which they'll be developing once the game releases. Get what I mean? So you might be able to get a Silverhand, but it's not in DLC. You see?
The examples that we try to come up for this kind of door, and it's sort of, again, it's just to showcase how we sort of think about these levels, right? As putting in a problem that the player has to solve.
Oh yeah, I forgot about something. We have a katana in the game, so you can be a ninja or samurai.
And we give him a lot of different tools and possibilities to solve this issue or bypass it in their own way. And that is how we're hoping to really create an experience for the player that they feel inherently is their own, right? They came up with a solution given the systems that we gave them. And they really get to feel like the badass Cyberpunk V that we want them to feel like.
It's actually also a lot of fun to work on this from a story perspective, because, as an example on the Wild Hunt, we were already working with very non-linear stories, but now we also have this non-linear gameplay approach. And for us, it was always really important to have these choices and consequences. And we did them in the story, anything should matter somehow. But now we can also say, okay, players have all of these different choices to solve a situation. So of course, there should also sometimes be some consequences, and not just on the gameplay side, how you solve it, but of course, the story should react to it. Do I just run into this room and kill a few guys, or do I, choose a super different approach? Sometimes this can now open up a completely new way to go through a quest. So, it actually, I think it added to this whole layer of non-linearity. It added quite a few, let's say, more things we have to do. But the thing is, it is a challenge for us, but it's actually a really fun challenge. It's actually really cool to come up with all these ideas. And the thing is also, our quests are iterated upon a lot. So as an example, quest designers, of course, we play them ourselves. Pavel as our lead plays them again. Directors play them. And also, most importantly, QA plays our quests a lot, and our QA team has really, really good ideas. So, they always think, okay, what do I think right now? What would I want to do in this situation? And then we often communicate, and this is how some of the best ideas are actually created, just through going through these missions over and over again, and always finding some new ways to approach them and some new ways to, find interesting consequences, what to happen afterwards.
Yeah, and that I think sort of ties up with a whole philosophy of a game, which is the freedom. And we have the freedom on the story layer, and maybe I don't want to talk about it too much, not to spoil it, but but it ties up with the gameplay very well, with like the way how the levels are constructed, and with branching gameplay, as Philip just explained, because player has freedom playing the game. You build your character the way you want, and you play the way you want, and you want the player to feel this choice, you know, that he's doing depending of, you know, how skills he's assigning, what weapons he or she is picking, and all that, and it all comes together as like, you know, fulfilling this ultimate like cyberpunk fantasy.
So in the demo, we obviously saw the bike. There was a little mention of the heavy armor car, but can you tell us a little bit more about the kinds of vehicles that will be in Cyberpunk 2077?
Unfortunately, no flying cars, people.
I can tell you a little bit about it. So there's of course many different kinds of vehicles, because we want to create a real open city, a city that makes sense in the year 2077. So there will be all kinds of vehicles, and of course there's also, you know, society is very different. So, you know, we also have different art styles that correspond with the different parts of society. So we have the art style called entropy. So as an example, you might see vehicles that are just very useful. They're made to just bring a person from A to B, or, you know, they're made to do a job. And of course, but, you know, the player can choose to have them as well, especially if, you know, the player might not have that much money yet. But there's also, you know, super luxury, high-end vehicles on the other side of the coin. So of course, you know, you as a player are only limited by what you can afford.
That's like real life.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of car I'll be buying. What do you guys think? I'll probably buy a car that looks like the AE86, because I like Initial D. Or maybe something that looks similar to a 1970s Mustang, Ford Mustang, the one that John Wick has. Those are the only cars I like. Maybe just a Lambo, I don't know. Meh, we'll have to see.
Life is like
That's
Cyberpunk.
what we strive for.
But yeah, you know, we try to strive for variety. So, you know, we also looked like, what are the kinds of vehicles players would want to have in a Cyberpunk game? So, you know, we don't just have cars, we of course also have bikes, like our very own Yaiba Kusanagi here, one of my favorites. It's a very, very cool bike. And there's some, let's say, surprise vehicles that are still to be seen in Cyberpunk that I don't want to spoil here. But I would say something very special that's also dear to my heart.
Now I'm really intrigued.
But of course also, let's say, the super highest echelon of people in that city, they also have access to AVs, so flying cars, which is something that you as a player, you're not part of that world, but through specific story moments, you might get to, you know, ride in them sometimes. So, you know, we want to give you a few different experiences. But yeah, you can also, of course, you know, you have your garage, where your apartment is, so you can also have your own vehicle that you store, that you can call to yourself. So you know, you can't call your vehicle Roach if you want to. It's all up to you. But
wait, I have a question. I just thought of something. Well, the thing is, in the previous Cyberpunk 2077 demo, they told us that we can own multiple apartments. So we can buy a few apartments, and let's say if you live in a different city, you know, there's 6 districts, maybe you can have an apartment in each one. But recently they told that unfortunately we'll only be able to have 1 apartment. So I'm thinking, will we be able to stay in hotels? You get what I mean? Because like in GTA 5, I mean, I know I'm not supposed to like talk about GTA 5 in relations with Cyberpunk, but in GTA 5 you can not only have multiple apartments. I'm not talking about multiple apartments. You can sleep in your apartment, but at the same time you can sleep in your office, you can sleep in your bunker, you can sleep in your other place, your nightclub, and also, would we be able to sleep in a hotel in Cyberpunk 2077? That is an interesting question that I have. I'll probably ask the Facebook group.
It will be your very own.
I wonder how many of these cars are going to be called Roach now that you've mentioned it. So Night City is massive, and that's like a point we're really trying to make. It's a huge, huge city. And you kind of want people to explore it by foot, right? You could just walk like from point A to point B if that's what you want, or drive.
You could, but probably you would get pretty tired because it's a pretty big place, so you will have to walk a lot. So the thing is, you know, we do not have loading screens while exploring the city. It's a completely seamless place. You can go, you know, wherever you want. And of course, Night City is a very dense place, so there's lots to see on your way. But the thing is also, you know, as with all things, we want to give players a choice. So of course there's the option to fast travel. But the thing is actually the way we're designing the city, we actually kind of feel like, even when we're playing it ourselves, that fast travel is often just, when I play the game, I don't want to fast travel. I want to explore the city because we actually try to give you so many interesting things, so many places that tell a story, that look interesting, where you have something to do, where you can interact with things, that just something new for you at every corner. So I personally don't fast travel a lot. I just drive my bike and I put on some nice music and I have a good time. But of course, you know, it's possible. And the thing is also, we actually have proper city planners working here that actually are planning out.
What do you mean, are we still in cyberspace? Cyberspace was just for that mission, I think. I do not know much.
Night City, and you know how the traffic would work in that city and how it would actually make the most sense, how a city like that would actually grow organically, and you know how it would flow, how the traffic would flow through there. So it's actually really interesting to also just have that part of game development now as part of, you know, Cyberpunk 2077, because this will be very important for how people actually get to explore it themselves.
To make the city feel alive.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so in The Witcher, everybody who's played The Witcher knows those question marks on the map, those points of interest. You dreamt about them when you were at work, you just thought about them. You can't walk past them. So what will we be sort of looking at for Cyberpunk? You know, what are those things that are going to be all-consuming us, so we are probably not paying attention to the main story? We're going to be like, oh, I've got to go do that first, and I can't go and do this until I've done that one over there. What will we be finding?
So in Night City, you actually really want to tie it into the world. So as an example, most districts have a so-called fixer. Like you might know from our gameplay demo from a year ago, there's Dexter Deshawn. And people like this, they can give you jobs that also fit the specific district you're in. So if, when you enter a district and you're kind of known as a mercenary who's doing certain things for money, fixers might contact you and they have some jobs for you. And then these jobs, as an example, they can be street stories. And they show up on your map, and you get an icon, so okay, this is this kind of street story. And we always want to put some interesting story to them, because after Wild Hunt, we actually founded a completely new team, the Open World team, which is actually creating some amazing content to actually fill this world with things that are meaningful. So we actually want to make this that you can do many also smaller things around the city, but they're actually all cool and unique in their own way. And one cool thing is also, of course, they appear on your map, but the map in the game is actually properly immersive. It's that really, really cool looking point cloud version of Night City. And you can see the tasks from your fixer there. But the cool thing is actually, because you're a character in Cyberpunk, you're V, and you actually have this information. So it's not just the player seeing them, it's actually your character seeing them as well, because it's all part of the world. So we want to give you this full immersion.
Also, I didn't actually see a question being pulled up. You want to segue? Yes, we can have custom vehicles. We can modify them. Yep. Nitros, I'm not so sure. Maybe with turrets and cannons. All I know is that you can customize your vehicle. I don't know if you can weaponize it though.
Yeah, it's actually really cool for us that with the street stories and all the other content, we're essentially sort of giving him like almost our Witcher 3 side quest treatment, in the sense that even simple tasks can be fun and exciting if we pack them up in a cool story and root them within the world, right? We can use these street stories to expand further on how life in Night City and the world of Cyberpunk in general works. And sometimes this might even be a better staging ground than the main story itself, right? Where just like, hey, let's see how everyday life works in this kind of aspect, from this perspective, in this scenario. And actually that's, again, like for us, that's a lot of fun.
Well, Cyberpunk, the devs, probably one of these guys, they have told that they do not like quests, simple quests where they say, hey, transport this shit, or like, hey, assassinate this guy. They don't really like that quest. They say that every quest they have is gonna have like a story of its own, kind of like The Witcher 3. So you don't really need to worry that much, Linkholder.
and it's a very exciting process. And I hope that when players play it at the end, that they will actually find that it sort of enriches their experience, because they always kind of have this impression like, hey, wow, no matter where I go, things are actually worked out, right? It's never just a simple sort of task of, hey, do things, like, but there's always a reason, there's always an understanding of why you're doing things. And even in those few scenarios where it might seem a bit more, oblivious, you'll usually find that, there's more to it that meets the eye.
Yeah, and one interesting thing about those street stories is also that, our main story is, of course, your own personal journey through Night City, but the street stories are actually, because, you play a mercenary who's trying to carve their way through the city. This is actually your job. So this is actually the role you now inhabit in this city. So actually you're part of that system through these street stories and through working with fixers. So it's actually this whole different way of playing, the game and feeling immersed in the city.
Can't wait to lose my life to them. So in the deep dive, we can see that the character has 3 sort of origins that we can pick. I mean, what are they and how do they actually affect the gameplay?
Oh, okay.
You're like, yes, let's go.
Yeah, okay. I'll go into my 50-minute answer. Okay, so we actually call them...
What was the question again?
So in the deep dive, we can see that the character has 3 sort of origins that we can pick. I mean, what are they and how do they actually affect the gameplay?
Oh, okay.
You're like, yes, let's go.
Yeah, okay. I'll go into my 50-minute answer. Okay, so we actually call them life paths. Those are the origin stories that player can pick. And it's actually 3 of them. So you can be a street kid, you can be a nomad, or you can be a corporal. Now, each of them actually defines the beginning of the story for the player. So you start in a completely different way than other life paths, and you are slowly introduced into that story. You know a different people, you're in a completely different place in life, you're in a different place in Night City, and your story slowly, you get involved into that whole thing with Chip and Johnny Silverhand, and eventually, you will land there. But you actually start off being a completely different person. Now, what is important with that is we actually take that through the whole game. And you as a player, you can actually associate yourself with like nomads, you can associate yourself with corporate people, or you can be a part of the streets. And it's really up to you, what path you want to pick through the main story, and we did our best in the quest team to like support all those like 3, I would say, main ways to go through the story. And of course player can like mix and match anytime, any way he really wants, or she really wants, but it's something that we take from the very beginning till the very end. And what's important there is when you're in the scenes with the characters, so when you're discussing things, you can actually use those things. So if you're a corpo and you know how the corporations work, what are their normal methods, what's the deal with them, you actually can use this knowledge and sometimes get something more. You can actually unlock side branches in the dialogues, and you can unlock side branches in the whole quest sometimes. And this is a bit exciting, I would say. It's something like the way how we to make sure that the player can role play their character.
You want to see your parents getting killed? Yeah. So you want to be Batman? I don't think that can actually happen. I think the story is that you're leaving your family, so they might actually be alive, or you might actually be an orphan. Oh, I can't really say yes, and I can't really say no either. Maybe. That's all I can say.
Character, to become that person. And in the demo that we have shown in the recording, you can see, this moment when you choose, that character that you are becoming later. And the characters that you are meeting in the main story, they are also representing those different groups. So in the first demo a year ago, we have shown Meredith Stout, a person, she is a high-class corporate woman from Militech. She has a lot of power, also a lot of responsibility, and you are on her way, and you can see how that interaction looks like. So when you're from corporation, maybe there's something you can do a bit more with her, and that goes also for others, for nomads and for street kids.
One of the nice things is actually also that you're not bound to stick, let's say, with the corporates or with the streets. So as an example, I can give an example. I start as a street kid the game, and I know I have my knowledge. But then I play through the story and I notice I kind of like these corporate characters. I like that life. So, I can just, betray the streets and snuggle up with the corporates. But, this is kind of the role-playing freedom we want to give. But, as always, this can also have consequences for you.
So anyone who's played the original tabletop version of Cyberpunk is used to the idea of assigning attribute points to create a character. Now, in the deep dive video we just saw, we got a little glimpse of that screen. You could see the points and the different things. So help me understand how that works and how you gain those points.
So as a player, you build your character at the beginning, assigning those attribute points, and they define like the core characteristics of your character. So how much body strength you have, or how much reflexes you have, or how cool you are. That's one of the interesting stats that we have, right? But then, as you have those attributes, you also have skills. The skills define a bit more interesting proficiencies for you as a player, what you can do. And for instance, one of those skills is assassination or the cold blood. And maybe I'll stick to the cold blood to explain a bit more. So this is a skill that allows the player to survive in a really tough situation. So at the moment, you get a lot of damage, then the cold blood skill kicks in, thanks to your cool stat. It kicks in and gives you a boost in damage, and then as a player you can, survive and so on. But then, using that skill, so you sort of like use by learning, like using that skill, you can actually get better, pump up levels there, and you can get different perks. Now, what's interesting there, you can actually give completely different perks to the skill that you have. And here I think I could use the example of the athletics attribute. So the athletics is the way for us to move dead bodies. So as a player, you can basically pick up the dead body that you have just basically killed, and pick it up and like stuff it into the fridge or in a trash bin. Now, as a player, you normally slow down when you're moving around with the bodies. But if you have added special perks to your athletic skill, you can now run with the dead body. So because you are more athletic, you can do that. And those are like 3 levels of complexity in our character, in building the character we have. You have the attributes, you have the skills, and then you assign perks to it. And those 3 come together to allow you to create your own amazing character that you want to play at.
A lot of people think this is maybe how cool you look, and it's all about the jacket you're wearing, but the cool stat is not style-based, is it?
Well, this is Cyberpunk, so being cool is of course very important. But the actual cool stat really means how cool you are under pressure, how much you have control over your body. So, are there people shooting at me and I'm holding my gun like that? Probably not very cool. So this is, this is the kind of thing that cool actually controls. But of course, if you want to play a character that's actually cool, you have your choices, right? You can wear your nice leather jacket. And of course, like in real life, also depends on how you talk to people. And that's of course also the choice of you as a player.
You just might freak out under gunfire.
Yeah.
Like, cool on the surface, but not so much when push comes to shove.
Happens sometimes.
So in the deep dive, we saw a quick clip of the inventory screen. It looks like a proper old school RPG screen, with the little blocks of the system. And I know the community wants to hear more about what they can expect. So tell us more, Miles.
Oh, I will. Now, of course, like how I always say is, in Cyberpunk, the inventory screen is, of course, where we manage our items, right? But most importantly, in Cyberpunk, it's where we also manage our style. And just, as Philip just touched on, like it's really important for us to be able, for you to be able to realize your character, and that, of course, comes in the character creation, but also the way you dress your character, right? We're pretty much aware that there's sort of this, in most RPGs, there's this common sort of disconnect between the stats on an item and the looks. While we can't go into details here, let's just say we're aware of this sort of, conflict, I guess, of interest sometimes. So we're looking.
Can corporate improve the slums areas or devolve them to earn more money? Probably devolve them. I don't think we can do major difference. And sadly, Cyberpunk, it's one of the biggest models in Cyberpunk. It's not about saving the world, it's more about saving yourself. So I don't think we'll be able to improve the slum areas, unfortunately. But maybe, just maybe, there might be a chance for you to do that. Maybe.
Into how you would be able to make your character still look cool despite having the best stats of an item, right? Just goes to show that that is really important to us. And of course, you know, the whole role-playing aspect goes even further, because we'll have some customization options, not only for the way you look like, but also your guns, right? In the inventory, you will of course decide what kind of weaponry it is that your character uses to kill people with, or sneak into different you know, bases, locations, because of course there's also where we mentioned cyberware, and all of these little things brought together, again, they've sort of allow you to fulfill your sort of what do you call it, character fantasy. That's the word I was looking for.
In the inventory, yes, we're changing our clothes, we want to look super cool, but what about cyberware? Can we do anything with cyberware from the inventory screen?
Oh yes, so imagine inventory screen, right? So if you see the player there, you have a slot. So normally in, like, let's say fantasy game, you would equip a armor, right? Or you would equip, I don't know, a leg piece or something. Like right now here, you can actually replace that with a cyberware, right? So you can get your legs replaced to your cyber legs, right? And those can give you different skills, like let's say double jump. But then as a player, you can upgrade actually those and let's say enhance them in a way that they give you something special to it. So for instance, you can actually make them jump in a way they do not emit that much sound, and they become like a really stealth tool. So because of that, you can traverse in a quiet way through the locations. So this is how you actually upgrade your character. You just go over your body and replace whatever you need. And in the lore, there are Ripper dogs who help you out with that when you have to install those core pieces of cyberware, like for instance the Raven control system that allows you to control the Flathead. But there are also other pieces that you can do on your own. And on top of that, as a player, you can also find pieces, small pieces called shards. And those, if you slot into your slot, you can actually, they give you a power of a given cyberware, so you can try it out. So as a player, you can experiment a bit, you know, and see how it would be if I would have installed, you know, some special piece of cyberware in my body. And that allows the player to, you know, to see stuff, to figure it out, to build their character the way they want.
Okay, so we...
Okay, so... Shit, I forgot what question I wanted to ask. God damn it.
know we can equip some of our cybernetic enhancements in the inventory.
Oh yeah, I said this in the previous stream, but I've asked the Facebook group or the Facebook page of Cyberpunk 2077, can we punch very, very fast? And I was using, you know why I asked it, because I like JoJo. And they said they do have plans to have such mods, like such cybernetics, to the point where we can punch like 20 punches per second. And then I showed them a video of Giorno doing the 7-page Muda, and they said probably not like that. So I guess it's a yay and an A as well, you know, like at the same time. We might be able to punch really fast, but not in JoJo level, unfortunately. Not safe, like improve the slums and nomads. Like, oh. I think so. I really think so, Link Holder. Also, yes, Luigi, we can approach people instead of running away. We can.
Like, where do
if
we
you're
get
a solo.
them? Like, how do we get more enhancements?
All right, there's actually multiple ways of going about that, right? The most obvious one is going to a so-called Ripper dock and getting new cyberware built in you, or enhancing the cyberware that you have. Some of it you will actually get through as you adventure through Night City. Things like the Kuroshi Eye implant that we have, right? It's almost mandated on top of you, because it's sort of like a core gameplay mechanic to be able to scan things and get additional information on certain circumstances. And of course, then we also have something we call the street cred system, right? So as you progress throughout the game, you will also unlock more street cred through your actions, and that will enable you to unlock more content in the game. That means, you know, more vendors will open up to you, more services will open up, people will have heard of you and are more willing to work with you. So there's actually multiple ways this affects your experience, and yeah, one of them being, you know, like the cyberware that you have access to.
Cool. So Netrunner was featured pretty heavily in the deep dive, but can you give us a little bit more insight into some of the combat skills or abilities that come with the idea of building a Netrunner class?
Yeah, so I think using netrunning skills gives you lots of let's say, opportunities to be very creative in how you play the game. So I can just give a few examples. So we have access points, and access points are, in the world of Cyberpunk, they can control all the different devices in the area, which of course as a Netrunner is pretty useful, because you can hack that access point, and if you successfully do that, you can now use quick hacks. You can actually, from a distance, take over different devices, like as an example, a camera. You can do many different things with it. Look through the camera and have a completely different view, or just, turn it off if it's in your way. And of course, you can take over a turret and make it fight for you, or you can do many different things. We also try to come up with nice custom things. So, depending on where you are, let's say if you're in a gym where there's some nice boxing robot, of course, maybe you can do some fun things with that. So I think as a Netrunner, it's always lots of fun to use different things. And as an example, if I would use lots of Netrunning skills, it's also really useful to use lots of cool skills that make me really good at stealth, so I'm really under control. So Netrunner can be really good at also using distractions, like if there's a vending machine, just make it spit out some drinks, and then of course some people might look after that. But the thing is, a Netrunner isn't just a stealth character. There's also cool aggressive Netrunning abilities, because we always want to give you the choice of how to play. So we have your nanowire cyberware, which is really good at hacking enemies from a distance and then actually taking over their cyberware. So most people in this world have cyberware in their body, so just like access points, very good times for Netrunners. So you can then control that cyberware and also do some nice things, like, as an example, hack someone's cyberware in their hand and make them do some things they might not want to have happen to them. But the thing is also the nanowire, of course, it's a wire, it's nano, it's very, sharp, so you can also use it as a weapon or as a whip. And, the Netrunner can be very effective at using his skills in combat as well. So it's all just, your choice as a player.
What about, let's say, because this all sounds amazing, but let's say you want to do slightly non-lethal. Because in the deep dive we saw with Sasquatch at the end, there was an option.
Yep.
Do you want to put her out of misery, or do you want to let her live? So how do people play it, like a non-lethal playthrough? Can you build a class to help you do that?
Mm-hmm. So that's basically a choice we made.
So basically, if you want to be Batman, you can be Batman. You can not kill everyone.
Okay, Cyberpunk, it is a very violent world, but you're role-playing your character. You can choose to play the whole game without killing a single person. And of course, we're always saying this should also have an effect on the story. So certain characters, in a quest might ask you, yeah, please do this thing for me, but don't make too much trouble. And of course, you don't get a game over if you do a thing that the character doesn't wanna. So, but the story will react to it. And we want to give you that choice, but of course, not only the Netrunner is able to do a non-lethal playthrough. Every player, however you want to skill your character, you're able to do it somehow. But of course, it also depends, where you are. Let's say if you're in some rundown ruin that doesn't have lots of Netrunning abilities, of course, a Netrunner still has ways to do it, but he might not be able to use all of his Netrunning skills. But another player who has skilled different ways now has a different experience. But it can happen vice versa. But what we always want to say, you can finish the whole game, you can finish the quests without killing a single person. Sometimes you just have to also, think about it. Because the thing is, Night City isn't a very peaceful place. So you can never play like a full pacifist who is never engaging in any kind of combat. Because, people will attack you sometimes. But you can choose to, not kill them, because like in real life, sometimes if there's attacks, you don't immediately kill everyone. You can solve situations in different ways.
Yeah, all right. One thing I'd actually like to add to that is that we're trying really hard to not actually punish players for the playstyle they chose to do, right? Whether it is that you're playing a lethal or non-lethal, or like a more aggressive versus a more subtle kind of approach. While NPCs might sort of have certain wishes for you how to approach a situation, they will never outright punish you for not, sort of doing their wishes. Because we really want to give players as much freedom as possible, and punishing the players for certain actions like that, which is basically them choosing to play their character, would directly contradict this kind of idea that we're trying to set up in terms of role-playing fantasy.
There's nothing worse than like accidentally slipping on the trigger. You're like, I didn't mean to kill him, and then everything changes.
And as an example, you can also see a Sasquatch that we show in our demo. It's a really intense fight, but actually, if you choose, you can subvert that fight. You can maybe just, sneak around her and find a different solution. And then maybe, of of course you can get a consequence out of that, because now Sasquatch is still alive, so you know the story is already different. So I think this opens up many different opportunities, not just for the gameplay, but also for us as storytellers.
So if I'm playing the game, if let's say my client or my fixer says don't kill the person, obviously I'm not gonna kill them. But no matter what they do, but if they don't give the option, then I don't know. I'll only kill them if they piss me off, I guess. And then I can give the classic dialogue, like saying, "Deal, the only reason you lost is because you pissed me off." Or more like, "Teme wa ore wo okoraseta." Something like that. Yeah, Batman is gonna be a gangster. I think you can do that because, you know, technically, Bucciarati, Narancia, not Abakio, Fugo, Mista, they were all street kids. And also, what was his name again? And also Giorno, they're all street kids. So yeah, you probably can be a gangster, but probably not the boss of the mafia. Actually, that is pretty... Oh, that is a pretty interesting question. Can we be a leader of a gang? Actually, I don't think so. We are a mercenary. We're solo. So I don't think so. What do you mean there are 5 roles? Yeah, Fugo was... Oh yeah, he wasn't a street kid. But he was casted out though. So... Once he was casted out, he wasn't rich anymore, was he? The fuck, I miss Bucciarati.
But let's tell us a little bit more about the solo build, because that was another build from in the deep dive. What kind of skills does that give someone then, as opposed to Netrunner?
I think that the most typical like solo fantasies that our players have is to be a strong solo and to be fast solo. So be
so
like
two different.
Like I would say so. But you can also build any type of hybrid you want. But the strong one is the person who can, you know, like shove people into the trash bins and so on, carry bodies, run with them. But you can also like pick up the heavy guns, you know, mounted to the turret and like use it against, you know, the opponents. Like we have shown that in the recording for a moment, you know, when V is like just, you know, like killing everything on her way with this very heavy gun, you of course cannot like take it to your inventory and run around with everything with it everywhere. But this is the only, like I would say, build that allows you to do that, right? So this is very, very special. However, if like as a fast solo, you have access to lots of different traversing skills. So as a means of exploration, you can, for instance, do the double jump and access places that you would not have otherwise, right? You can also, you know, like slide around with your katana or like slide around with your nanowire that we have also shown. So you can be built in a completely different ways, built based on the stats that you have picked as a person.
Sounds really, really cool. I'm just gonna run in, I think, and just punch everything until I get what I want, which is also like real life.
Unfortunately, if I want to use a katana, I'll end up killing people, and I don't want that. Unless the katana can have a non-lethal setting. I don't know how that works, but hopefully it does.
Yeah.
I'm echoing. Don't worry, it'll fade out. Is it still happening? Is it okay now? Hello? Hello? Is it okay now? Tell me if it's back to normal. Okay, it's okay.
This
Exactly
game
the same.
is so close to real life. It's quite incredible, actually.
It literally happens every day.
So we know we've talked about Netrunner and Solo, and we've shown both of them in our deep dive, but that...
Fuck. Okay, then I guess I can say, I've already said it, but I can say the dialogue. これが Requiem だ. Fuck. Is it okay now? Now, what about now? I'm checking. Is it back to normal?
No.
That sucks. Hello? God damn it. Is it... I don't know what the hell is the reason for this, but... Damn, that's a bummer. How about now? Is it back to normal now? Well, it looks like the Cyberpunk has really got to me. And my voice is echoey and shit. Maybe I'll remove this. Give me a second. And is it okay now? Is it? Hello. Maybe should I remove this wire? I don't know what's gonna happen though. Hello. 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 Is it back to normal now? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, boss. Hey, boss. Is it back to normal? Wait, let me check on my phone. Is it back to normal? No, it's still echoing. Wait, let me check on my phone. That sucks. I will try it again. I'll be back. Hello, is my voice back to normal now? I'll check on my phone. I'll be back. Hello, is my voice back to normal now? Hey, it's back to normal. Check on my phone. That means we can continue the stream. I apologize for the technical difficulty. Let's get back into it, boys. You can't hear the people. Wait. No! God damn it. Frick. How? Why must this happen to me? Fuck. Wait. Give me a second. Does it work now?
Choose, you can subvert that fight. You can maybe just, you know, sneak around her and find a different solution. And
Is
then
this
maybe,
better?
you know, of course, you can get a consequence out of.
Is this better? I'll check on my phone.
Choose, you can subvert that fight. You can maybe just, you know, sneak around her and find a different solution. And then
That's
maybe, better. Of course,
Yeah.
you can get a consequence.
Yep, I guess that's better. Sorry for the technical difficulties once again. God damn, that sucks. Really. Nice.
That because now Sasquatch is still alive, so you know the story is already different. So I think this opens up many different opportunities, just not just for the gameplay, but also for us as storytellers.
But let's tell us a little bit more about the solo build, because that was another build from in the deep dive. What kind of skills does that give someone then, as opposed to
I like the music,
Netrunner?
by the way.
I think that the most typical like solo fantasies that our players have is to be a strong solo and to be fast solo. So
Hello.
be like
Two different.
like I would say so. But
came in a
you
little
can
late,
also
but
build
hello.
any type of hybrid you want. But the strong one is the person who can, you know, like shove people into the trash bins and so on, carry bodies, run with them. But you can also like pick up the heavy guns, you know, mounted to the turret and like use it against, you know, the opponents. Like we have shown that in the recording for a moment. You know, when V is like just, you know, like killing everything on her way with this very heavy gun, you of course cannot like take it to your inventory and run around with everything with it everywhere. But this is the only, like I would say, build that allows you to do that, right? So this is very, very special. However, if like as a fast solo, you have access to lots of different traversing skills. So as a means of exploration, you can, for instance, do the double jump and access places that you would not have otherwise, right? You can also, you know, like slide around with your katana or like slide around using nanowire that we have also shown. So you can be built in a completely different ways, built based on the stats that you have picked as a person.
Sounds really, really cool. I'm just going to run in, I think, and just punch everything until I get what I want, which is also like real life.
Yeah,
This
exactly
game
the same.
is so close to real life. It's quite incredible, actually.
It literally happens every day.
So we know we've talked about Netrunner and Solo, and we've shown both of them in our deep dive, but that's not just it, right? Like there are other builds. So, you know, maybe tell us about Techie.
Yeah, so generally how we approach this kind of stuff is we have sort of thought, we're thinking of three sort of main archetypes of how you can play the game. That would be the Netrunner playstyle, right? The solo playstyle, which as Pavel said, sort of branches into sort of more agile, fast solo, and the more brutish, strong solo character. And then there's the last one, which is the Techie. Again, it's just important for us to say that these are just archetypes that you know, help us think about how players might approach any kind of situation. But of course, you'll be able to create any kind of hybrid and just pick the skills that you like in between. And the Techie, you know, is sort of a more technically affiliated playstyle, right? Whereas the Netrunner is the one that sort of manipulates devices that are active by hacking networks and taking over control. The Techie is actually the one that sort of dabbles with the hardware itself and cables and whatever drives machinery, all that stuff. And To add on top of that, we're actually layering our little buddy called Flathead, and he is what we call a spider bot, a kind of very sophisticated piece of military hardware that the player will be able to use when he chooses to invest into the Techie playstyle. And Flathead is an interesting one because he's a pretty, basically this autonomous robot that listens to your commands, and you can basically send out Flathead to do certain things for you, right? You might be able to send him out to manipulate certain devices, right? There might be, I don't know, let's come up with an example here. There is some sort of broken lamp or something, or like a broken gadget. You can see it with your scanner, right? And you might actually send Flathead to do a little bit of tweakage there to make that object fall down onto an enemy, right? Or other examples would be to use Flathead to directly engage with enemies. There's a certain customization options that might be tied to a buddy robot, and I hope actually players will get oddly attached to their little robot buddy, right? And again, this is like a whole sort of layer, another layer of how you might play the game. And as I said earlier, with us thinking of the archetypes, it is one of the many possible ways of how to play the game, and we're trying to add as many tools as we can for all three of these archetypes to really sort of be able to manipulate the game world and feel like, yeah, this world, if I look around, I see opportunities that suit me. You're maybe fantasizing to play as a sort of Terminator kind of character, right? We have our scanner, you look around, see opportunities, and you seize them, and how you seize them and what opportunities arise for it really just depends on what kind of character you're playing and what skills you have invested in.
Okay, so we all stand Flathead. We know that Flathead is everything, but also let's talk about actual weapons. Let's talk about guns. What can we expect? 'Cause we saw a few. We saw the Militech turret being ripped out used as a machine gun. We saw the nanowires, but tell us a little bit more.
So our guns are divided into three main categories, right? There are smart guns that we have shown in a previous demo like a year ago. So basically they shoot homing bullets that are following target. There are also tech weapons, and the tech weapons are those that have additional capabilities to them that they for instance can pierce covers. And there are also power weapons, and power weapons are mainly focused on being a street grid weapons. So they basically have additional skills and capabilities connected to the fact they're reworked in some way. So for instance, those are bursting shotguns and things like that. And we have put plenty of work to making sure that the weapons feel well and they have their weight. And there's lots of really cool examples that I can give here. For instance, there is a handgun that as you use it, it actually speeds up the bullets slowly, and longer you use it, faster the bullets become, so they can do more things and they can do more damage.
You mean like a minigun?
There's, for instance, a class of the weapons for the handguns that has been created by a Russian company to fight cyborgs. And that weapon is able to heat up the bullet to the point that the bullet becomes almost like a melted plastic, and is done, for instance, so it can shoot off cyborgs' arms and so on. So there's always a small piece of story wrapped up around the weapon, what that weapon does. And what's interesting here, I think, is that you can also use a second firing mode for a weapon, and not all weapons have them. But some of them, if you use them in a specific way, let's say a tech rifle that we have shown in a previous demo, when you use it in a specific way, it changes its way, it collapses together, and then it allows you to pierce up the covers and shoot through the walls and shoot the enemies like that. Or you can, bounce bullets off the walls, right, using the ricochet. We try to always put enough depth into the gun. For instance, I literally today I have seen awesome shotgun that has 8 barrels, and they shoots them in the same time, and it has actually I think that players will love our gunplay, especially the way how the guns look and how they feel when you shoot them.
I'm so excited. That's yeah. Shotguns, they're my favorite. 8 barrels, even better.
I think also something really cool to add to this is that, you know, as you already touched on it, like all of these companies, these gun manufacturers and all that stuff, they actually, I mean, a lot of it comes from the actual lore, right? But we're also making sure that, you know, there's a history to everything. That includes the brands and ads that we have in the game. We actually have like a whole team dedicated to just that kind of stuff. And again, it sort of is in line with our philosophy to make sure that everything is rooted in the world, has its reason why it is there, has its history. I think that's really sort of like the secret ingredient to make like a really believable world, that when the player actually goes in, that they have this impression like, yeah, this place exists, right? This feels alive. And I think that will make just the fact of simply walking through Night City like a really, really cool experience.
Also, actually, one of the cool things we also have is we have lots of different melee weapons. And, you know, it starts by, you know, very spontaneous ones. So let's say you find a broken bottle and you just use it, or you find a knife on the ground and you can use it to fight melee. Or
can I use a pencil? That's the question I want to ask. Can I use a pencil? Can I be the guy to use a pencil? Kill 3 people in the bar with a pencil. A fucking pencil.
You can, as an example, throw it. But you can also specialize in melee weapons, because as we said earlier, maybe you want to play as a cyber ninja, and of course as a cyber ninja there's many different katanas that you can actually also specialize in getting really good at them.
Multiple katanas.
There's even cyberware for melee, like the gorilla fists that can also be used to, you know, be really strong and open doors. But you know, if you're really strong, you can also hit people with it. But a cool thing is all
I want to do in my modified arms is do the ora ora rush. I just want to go in there, just, you know, it was so fucking cool.
So using your melee weapons together with special cyberware. So as an example, my favorite cyberware that I always like to use is the Sandevistan. And essentially it slows down time for you because your reflex...
Slows down time, you say? Now that sounds interesting.
Reflexes get boosted, so now you have superhuman reflexes, and the way we show it is of course time slowing down for you as a player. So imagine you have your katana and you just go into a slide and then you can aim and like just go through, and it actually feels really cool. Like you feel like you have super control. But actually you can also see, as an example in the demo, how it feels like to be in the receiving end of cyberware like that, because the animals have reflex boosting cyberware as well. So actually sometimes when they're coming towards you in melee, they zip around really fast.
That's what that is.
Exactly, and this is how it actually feels for enemies. When you have your, you know, slow-mo, this is how they see you moving around. So it can be pretty scary to also find someone who uses the same cyberware you use.
What about you two then? What are your favorite cyberwares that you've seen so far, that you can talk about so far before you get me in trouble?
Oh, I think that at least for me, I think those are gonna be mantis blades. I think that's the best one. We have shown how it looks for the player, how it feels when you use them.
Fun fact: the mantis blades are probably one of the first weapons to be ever shown in Cyberpunk. You can see it in the... you can't see it here. I'm gonna click the video, but I'm gonna mute the audio. I'm gonna show you guys. Where is she? Can you see it? She's using the mantis blades. And she's actually a person who went through cyber psychosis. That's why she went on a killing spree. Yeah, just a fun fact. Also, this person over here, this female, she's Johnny Silverhand's ex-girlfriend called Alt Cunningham. She was the only one to have successfully uploaded her entire conscience to the internet. And now she's trapped. Yeah, I'm moving on.
You can chop off heads and so on. It's something of a... it's very poetic, I would say. Yeah, and
Stop spoiling JoJo for me, okay?
In other cyberware, I think that I would like it's more story related. It's Mr. Stud. I will let our players to figure it out what it does. For those who know the lore a bit.
For me, Philip already took it away by taking the strong arms earlier and the Sandevistan. So a bit of a greedy dude over there. No, but So I guess technically the cyber deck is a piece of cyberware, right? That's the one that actually allows you to breach into networks, take over control, and use all that hacking magic on all kinds of enemies, right? Like in the gameplay, we show how you can not only manipulate this training robot, but you can also manipulate devices that you might not think are necessarily hackable, like the bench press that we showed there, and it goes even further than that, right? If you combine that with, like for example, the nanowires, but also you can do it from closer up, you can actually breach into like a squad's internal network by hacking directly into the personal links of enemies. And once you're in the squad network, you can actually use what we call daemon software, and to essentially quick hack the cyberware that is attached to people's bodies, right? So imagine a scenario where you're a Netrunner kind of character, you're sneaking through, but then things get hot, right? So now you find yourself in a combat situation. Luckily, of course, you come prepared. You already foresaw that things might go wrong because you're a skilled Netrunner after all. So you already breached into the squad's internal network. Now, these enemies start swarming you, and what do? Of course, you start using your scanner. Then you look at these guys and you realize, hey, I breached the security, so I can now upload my virus software into these guys to make them do things that they don't necessarily want. You might hack their cybernetic hand to force them to pull the pin on a grenade they have at their grenade belt, setting them to a fiery and explosive but spectacularly looking death. Alternatively, we also have one that you can actually use to basically make enemies finish themselves off, right? They'll shut themselves down. And it's actually really cool because you sort of see them struggling with their hand as well. So it's like it really sells the fantasy of what you're doing, right? And you're basically becoming this cybernetic god as soon as you take over a network. And it really is something that, feels so different from the other play styles that we have, and I really like the sort of level of variety that we offer players when it comes to that. And I think that ultimately, and pardon me for being a bit buzzworthy about this, but like this will really make each playthrough very unique to players, right? Not only the way you play it, the way you interact with the world, the way you talk to people, all that kind of stuff. Like if you look at all the
I'm gonna talk to everyone in a pink guy accent. Like, let's say Dexter Deshawn. He's the big fat black guy in the first demo. Imagine him just saying, Mr. V, it's been a pleasure. And I just say, hey boss, nice meeting you, man. And then, boss, hey fuck you, man. Imagine just saying that. Hey boss, can I have the pussy, please?
The little choices that accumulate through the game, no playthrough will basically be like another, and inherently they will also feel very differently depending on what kind of character you want to play. And I guess that would be the less obvious one, because as a Netrunner you'll always be sort of having your cyber deck, because otherwise you could not be a Netrunner. And then I think I've mentioned before in another video of sorts that I really like our nanowires, which go hand in hand sort of with this net running playstyle. I guess you can see where my personal preferences lie. Don't worry, it does not affect my designs. I try to be balanced. Like whereas the regular Netrunner can sort of breach into a squad network by sort of taking an enemy out and having an extra option to breach into their squad's network. The nanowires actually allow you to do this from a distance or from a safe spot, right? And they can also be used to slice people into bite-sized pieces. So again, as Philip said much earlier, if I remember correctly, we've been doing this for a bit. There's actually, no playstyle that is sort of meant to be played in a certain way. Right, we don't go, okay, the hacker kind of character, he's the stealthy guy, he needs to operate from the shadows, whereas the solo type, he's the one that, just goes out and shoots everyone. No, you can actually still, within these playstyles, choose how you play the kind of character, lethal, non-lethal, stealthy, and non-stealthy, and we just give you the tools in all playstyles to do whatever you want with it, right? So if you want to be a combat Netrunner, if you will, that likes to use gunfire and you know, making people blow themselves up, sure, go do that. But you can also do it in a stealthy approach. It really lies in the player's hands.
So let's say I've got my 8-barrel shotgun. It's my favorite gun. I love it. What can I do to it? Can I customize it? Is it moddable? Are there any options for, you know, really making something special and one of a kind?
How to make my guns pink.
I think we can say that there are like two major ways what you can do, how you can customize your guns. One way is customizing the visuals, and those are different skins and like paint overs, paint jobs that you can have on your gun just to make sure that, you know, when you're a Cupid, that your rifle is pink or purple, you know, if you really want it. But then there's the second way how you can customize it. It's a different sort of attachments that you can have. You can have silencers, you know, you can have like a sniper rifle zoom on the gun. You also can boost up the stats of the given weapon. So in that way, you can basically make it more efficient. So you can make it to look the way you want, and you can make it to shoot the way you want.
I think, Miles, you've mentioned this before, that also changes the animation, right? As it progresses, you can change the way it looks as you reload and things like that.
Yeah, so basically the more you use your guns, who figures, the better you become at shooting them, right? You might start as a complete amateur, like I would be with shooting a gun.
Good to know.
But yeah, I'm not a very good shot. And the better you become with it, you know, that actually affects your way of handling a gun. So, you know, your crosshair might become smaller, indicating that your accuracy increases ever so slightly, and that will also sort of influence the way your animation looks like. Your reload speed will be faster and all that stuff. So you actually really get this sense of progression and your character evolving as you play the game. And yeah, I think that's a pretty special sort of experience if you combine it with the way, you know, that you can customize your guns, man, and kind of really have this feeling that, yeah, this is my signature gun, right? And I'm really good with it.
Right, guys, thank you so much. I know there is one thing we haven't talked about from the demo, and that is a little bit more about the gangs. We spoke about the Voodoo Boys a bit, but we haven't even really spoken about the animals. And while I know you guys know everything about Cyberpunk, I thought I'd actually throw out to maybe the Godfather himself. So I caught up with Mike Pondsmith at Gamescom to ask him, who are the Voodoo Boys and who are the animals?
Hi.
Hey.
My name is Mike Pondsmith, and I'm the guy
Is the gamer Morgan Freeman
who killed your Hi. My name is Mike Pondsmith, and I'm the guy who killed your Cyberpunk characters. And today I'm going to talk to you about two very important things. I'm going to talk to you about animals, and I'm going to talk to you about the Voodoo Boys. So, let's take the Voodoo Boys. When I created them many, many years ago, I was looking at kind of a really interesting idea, which is what we would now call cultural appropriation. What happens when somebody comes in and tries to adopt a culture that they know little or nothing about and does it really badly. But one of the great things about having a few years is that you get a chance to do some redos. And one of the best ones is what we have with the Voodoo Boys now. The Voodoo Boys in 2077 are really Voodoo Boys. They inherited the name, but it was sort of a natural fit. They were coming from Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and they were the real thing. And they managed to take a lot of the elements of their original culture and meld it into the world of 2077 to bring that cyberpunk vibe into a very old and respected culture. So they're a gang, but they're not really. They're more of a cultural phenomenon. They're more a way of cultural exploration. And I think it's really cool because it shows us a side of the cyberpunk future that we normally wouldn't see. On the other hand, they're the animals. Way, way back in my dark, dank past, I used to lift. Don't anymore, but I used to. And I would see guys like the animals in the gym I went to. Guys who lived to get strong, and get really strong, and get really strong. The animals are like those guys. They're in it to basically build themselves up and become the tigers of their particular urban jungle. They want to be big, they want to be bad, and they want you to fear them just because they exist. And you know, it's really easy to fear a guy who blots out the sun when he walks by you. But the animals are very simple. They have an ethos: get big, lift, get strong, lift. So unlike the Voodoo Boys, who have a culture, the animals have a thing. And contrasting that is interesting, because in 2077, you get a chance to see that not every gang is the same as every other gang, and what motivates them depends on the people you meet on the street. Check it out. This is Mike Pondsmith saying, I'm still here to kill your Cyberpunk character.
We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Cyberpunk 2077. Now don't forget, you can join us on Twitter, Facebook, forums, and even join us on Discord to make sure you stay up to date on all of our news. Cyberpunk 2077 is launching April 16, 2020 and is available for pre-order now. On behalf of everybody working on Cyberpunk and here at CD Projekt Red, we thank you for watching, your ongoing support, and we can't wait for you to explore Night City.
I'm fucking hyped. Since 2018, really. My hype died down a bit, but now it's going back up. We have around 230 days around that. I mean, we have 200 plus days to go. Damn. Oh, this is awkward. Why is the screen so long? Can't wait to hear Johnny talk shit about my decisions. Alright, so it's almost been 2 hours. I haven't made a video yet, a DLC video for today, for tomorrow. So I'm gonna be doing that tomorrow. So, thank you all so much for joining me on this stream. It's a pretty interesting one, pretty entertaining one as well, for me, at least. So thank you all so much for watching. I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. I don't think it's Morse code. They did try doing the Morse code thing before, but I don't think it's Morse code. And even if it was Morse code, I don't think I can decode it. I remember seeing this in my Game Informer years. In Game Informer. I don't even remember how I found Cyberpunk 2077. I guess it's I somehow found out that Cyberpunk wallpapers look really cool, and I think I found Cyberpunk 2077 from there. Like, there we go. If you just hit wallpapers, you see this. What the fuck? Why is it so low res? You see the beautiful cities, beautiful pictures, absolutely stunning. And I think somehow I found it, like, let's say this wallpaper. Somehow I found it, and now I'm really into Cyberpunk 2077. Oh yeah, okay, so thank you all so much for watching this stream with me. If you liked it, leave a like, and once again thank you link holder for the donation and for becoming a channel member. Damn, I really suck at outros. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next stream or video of whatever I make. Alright, see you guys, and I love you all.